Hello, I want to talk a little bit about what sort of channels Bitcoin price is occupied in right now. So you can see that on the daily chart, we have basically this channel bouncing from the resistance that we get. Along this line is the resistance, and then here we have our support. And on that, we are in this overall downward trend in terms of what the ceiling is, and then this upward trend in terms of the floor. And we're looking to try and figure out how those close up. Zoom into a next chart. Let's go way into the 15-minute chart. And zoom out a little bit here. So those top and bottom is correlated to here where we see these resistance levels up at the top right here on January 14th. Those were the end of our higher highs and then started moving into lower lows. And then by the time that we found another top, it was respecting this trend line here. And on the way to get to the bottom, it was respecting that trend line here. So we know that this line and this line are giving us narrowing what our channels will be. So we're looking to see big moves over to this side or to that side. But prior to that happening, what are our other support and resistance? So on this next level here, I'll point out this particular line because it's very interesting. It starts off at the top here as the resistance. So at the top, every time we would top, and then right here, it was a top, but it switched to support. So now it's the bottom. So this line here switches from being resistance to being the support. So this line right here with the circles on either side, it's the resistance and then it becomes the support. So this one's very interesting here. And the next level of channels that we have here are bottom, bottom. Every time you get the bottom, it's respecting this channel. So what happens once it hits this very bottom? The question is, where does it hit the very bottom end? It's right here where it respects this more macro channel. And then we switch back up into this upward trend here where this line now accounts for support, support, support. And then once that comes back into a channel that fits along with these levels for the top. So zooming in, that is the channel that we're in right now on that 15-minute chart. We can get in even closer right now to another channel that we have on a deeper level here. Here we have on this line here, a bottom, giving us this channel. And then we have tops at a more macro level, letting us know we are right here in this trend. And here we have bottoms. This trend line is for the bottoms here and for the tops here. And once we hit this line, we're bouncing back up now. So we're getting a sense of movement based on these support and resistance levels, telling us what our direction is, what our support and resistance levels are. Zoom in a little bit more into the 5-minute chart. We really see the end of the higher highs here, and then another higher high before lower lows, and then on this very last candle, we're starting to see if we're going to be moving in to this or this, which one of these quadrants, which one of these channels will continue. So just sort of follow this one based on what our bottoms are and just complete that triangle. So this is an interesting place where I would like to see if we break up above here, then on this 1 minute chart, we could either end up in the top side of this, where I would start looking at this next blue band, this 32,596 level, as the next top, or if it goes down below that, then my next support level that I would be interested in is this blue one right down here. So now we're starting to see that movement come together on the 1 minute chart. And we still want to know, are we going to break above, break below? It might be worth just sitting through here and seeing where we get to on this X. Does it want to follow up this way? Does it want to use this line here as a support level? Does it want to use this line here as a support level? Does it want to use this line here as a resistance? Or does it want to use this line here as a resistance? On a 1 minute chart based on these sort of indicators, I don't have a strong feeling either way. And since I'm on such a micro chart, this 1 minute chart, let's bring in the VWAP line to see if we're above or below that. So we're above this VWAP line. That's making me think that there's some chance that we would be converging down toward that, and that is what we see happening. We do see converging down toward this VWAP line as we're trying to figure out what we are in for channels. And you have some of the market wanting to use this line, you have some of the market wanting to use that line. For me, all other things being equal, I would think that we might converge toward this VWAP. As I speak, that is what we see happening as a general trend, moving down toward here. And it's seeming like whether we use this line or this line, our best case, we're not seeing what would be the best case scenario that we bump up using this trend line as support. We're not seeing that. We're seeing convergence toward the VWAP line here as things play out. We're seeing that this trend line here is going to be playing out as resistance in the worst case and maybe most likely scenario on the 1 minute chart. And it doesn't look very likely that we will be riding up this trend line right away. Could be more movement to the downside as we converge toward the VWAP and find ourselves following this trend line for resistance and seeing what happens when we get down toward this trend line. This is a line that I like for support. It would be interesting to see when we get down toward this trend line, if that happens, to see what we're looking like for RSI and MACD. So just zoom back out a little bit so that these, actually I want to focus on where we are with the RSI and the MACD on the weekly chart. So this is not a good way to show these candlesticks on this chart. So I'll just zoom a little bit. Yeah, let's start with 0 at the bottom. And the RSI here has come up quite high, quite hyperbolic, and that's where we see converging down toward a consolidation. We're consolidating into this triangle here. If we break on the other side of that, that would be significant to see us break to the downside of that. I expect that we're going to stay within this triangle. Moving outside of that triangle will be significantly more information than if we do stay within this sort of predicted range. The RSI is coming back down toward the top of this reasonable level, but that doesn't tell me a whole lot. I'd want to go to zoomed in charts here. The RSI is lower on the daily chart, and we still continue this downward movement on the MACD on the daily chart. How much gain we had from this MACD crossover on the daily. We went up, 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 up. And then when this RSI got hyperbolic, it starts to come down. That's where we see the price go down. And the RSI continues to lose some steam down into the bottom half of the reasonable zone here, but still more or less toward the middle, very close to the middle. Yeah, momentum on the MACD coming down on that daily chart. So on the daily, I'm waiting for some more signals to be liking the way that things look on that daily chart. Let's check out that 2-hour chart, and we can see these trend lines, just giving us a sense of where were the reversals. So this was our support until we hit this trusty line. And then we see that reversal. Now we are down into this channel here. Let's zoom in. And we need to get even closer and go back to that 15-minute chart. So I don't know that there's too much more to say at this point. Just showing here these channels and whether we break to the upside or the downside on this X here tells us a little bit more about where things are going. So that's going to take some time to play out. We'll zoom in a little bit on the 5-minute chart just for fun. So we see here, as we cross that X, that we are on the bottom side of it. So we're not breaking up on the other side of this into a bullish pattern on this 5-minute chart. We are following this trend line currently for resistance, and then our next levels of support down here in the 31,000. So I'll be watching to see if this goes down closer to meet this trend line, or if we start moving back up here, and then instead of a resistance level, does this become a level of support? So does this become this line here? Does it become a floor or a ceiling? This line here. If it becomes a floor or a ceiling, then that's the bullish case. That's the best case. But we want to see here, is this a floor? Is it a ceiling? Do we need to get to this floor here? In terms of our next understanding of which channel we're in. So that is a principle that we'll leave you with in terms of support and resistance trend lines.